I'm Jim Pettit. Yeah. I'm the president and CEO of Aben Resources, symbol ABN.V on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and in the States on the QB Exchange, it's ABN-AF. Yeah, Aben is a junior gold exploration company. I've got 3 projects on the go. Our primary project, our main focus, is the Kur Project in northern British Columbia, northwestern British Columbia, in an area called the Golden Triangle. We went in there about 3 years ago and started accumulating a land package. It had to be strategic. It had to be on a major structural feature. And hence we went after these 3 claim groups that were owned separately. We did an option agreement with the 3 different owners. That culminated in one continuous property, the Kur property, that runs for close to 50 kilometers long. It's over 30,000 hectares. The Kur fault runs right up the middle of it. And to get the option agreements all approved, to get 100% especially, we had to redo some of the NSRs. And, it's a simple deal where we offered stock and $3 million to be spent on the ground across the whole property. And then what we did is we took all the data from these 3 separate properties and put it into one big compilation study. And, that basically got us going. We took that study and created a regional look at the whole picture and prioritized where we wanted to be. And that's how we got started last year. For the whole region up there, the Golden Triangle, started like 30 plus years ago with some significant discoveries, the Snip Mine and the Eskay Creek. A very tough time to work there. There wasn't any infrastructure. Basically, it was fixed wing access and dirt road all the way in from Terrace or Smithers. And in the ensuing years, there's been another big push, probably in the early 90s. That would have been about the time there was a lot more work done, especially on the properties that we picked up and made it into the Kur property. Today, you've now got a highway that runs right up beside it, the whole region. It's paved all the way up to Dease Lake. You've got power available now. The BC government's invested hundreds of millions of dollars to put the power project in place. AltaGas built it. There's enough power there to supply the next 10 to 20 mines that are, could be found up there. Right now it's powering Red Chris mine and the Bruce Jack mine. It's given power to towns like Dease Lake and Telegraph Creek for the first time. And there's probably enough excess power there they could take it right up into the Yukon. Also, very important is the receding glaciers have opened up a lot of ground in the last 30 years. So there's a lot more ground to look at. And, that's very apparent because some of the areas we're looking at, we couldn't have even considered it 20 or 30 years ago. On the Kur Project, where we started was the result of a historic geochemical survey. And we took that, and it was large, and it was a good high-grade geochem survey, about 4 kilometers long, a couple kilometers wide. We went on boots on the ground. We put people in there, and we wanted to verify some of that old data, which we did. Then we found some outcrop that weren't tested before. It's hard to find outcrop because there's a lot of ground cover. And we sampled one area just north of the boundary zone. It's now called the North Boundary Zone. That returned some samples, rock samples, chip samples of 50 grams gold. So what we decided to do is that's where we're going to start drilling, right underneath it. So last year, holes 4, 5, and 6 out of 9 holes hit in that zone. Significant grade, up to 22 grams, 6 to 9 meters, and a couple of the different holes. They all had different grades. They all had different intersections or different widths, but they all were involved in a very broad envelope, I guess you would call it, where you had continuous grade. So, the first hole we hit on that zone, totaled 387 meters of continuous mineralization. It amounted to a quarter a gram gold, but that had a very high grade core to it, as did the other two. And so this year we decided to start there again. Let's see what dimensions are, because we'd left that zone open in all directions. So we drilled under it, and we hit this year. It had a 1 meter of over 300 grams. You had 6 meters of 60 plus grams, and we had 10 meters of 38 grams. So pretty spectacular. And what we did from that point on is we had a permit for pad locations, which is how you do the permitting up there. And you put your pad locations are basically set, and then the rig stays on the pads, and you can change the angles. So what we've done is really saturated the north boundary zone. To this point, we've now done over 30 holes. They're all in the lab. Assays pending, lots of assays. By the time we got to that stage, the assay labs were getting really backed up, because there's not Kitimat, but Terrace has a lab, and it's packed, and they're sending a lot of our core over to Kamloops to that lab. So it's a question of waiting to get complete assays back, but we'll have a lot to report over the next couple months. A lot. This is just the beginning. It's our second year. Literally, there's 4 holes that have now hit a really good-looking zone. It's very complex. The mineralization it's not easy. It's tough to get a handle on controls and structure and orientation, because so much has happened. There's so much volcanism, there's so much folding and bending, and we're looking at 4 different age groups, of rock, possibly 3 to 4 mineralizing events. As we get a handle on structure and orientation in that, through more holes, and once you get more holes, we can 3D model it and start following structure more. I think the results will naturally improve. We have a great management team, very cohesive. There's a group of us that have got a background in M&A. So, Ron Nedolitsky is the chairman, involved in the founding of the Snip Mine and Eskay Creek, and you name it. He's bought there, he's developed and sold many assets like those. Tim Termundi was involved in Copper Canyon, sold it to Nova Gold, which is right there, which has become Galore Creek. So he's very active with me. I just do the corporate side. Those guys are the PGOs. I do the corporate governance side, finance. I ran a company called Bayfield Resources. I sold it to New Gold back in 2014. So I'm no stranger to development as well and selling. So I think we've got a great team. We've got a great advisory board. Mike Roberts and Henry Omack. And Henry's been in that area for as long as Ron has. So there's tremendous information available to us.